Hi, welcome to the Craft with Claire Origami Hanging Crane Kit. So this box is going to make 2 sets of 4 hanging cranes, and I want to talk you through how we're going to create them. So let's open the box. So you've got your instructions here. Let's get out. These beautiful pattern pieces are going to be the start of the cranes, so you can mix and match 1-2 colours within a set of 4, or you can do 2 sets of 4 using each of the colours within each set. You will have some test paper in here, so I definitely recommend practicing making a couple of cranes before you're ready to start. Within the box you also have paper instructions in terms of how to fold your crane, just some images in how to fold, and then how to assemble your crane. But I'm going to be taking you through all of that here today. Inside the box you also have a needle and some embroidery thread. So I'm going to pop this out of the way for now. And what I'm going to do is start with one of my cranes. So when we're starting with the crane, we're going with the paper. This is double-sided pattern paper, so you can have it any way up. If you are creating more cranes and you're using paper that is white and then patterned on one side, always start with the white side facing upwards. That's going to be the inside of the crane. So we're going to start folding the crane. We're going to do a diagonal fold. So just making sure that you line up the corners of the paper and folding it diagonally. We're then going to do a diagonal fold in the opposite direction. And then we're going to go for our horizontal fold. So we're going to basically put the paper into 8 segments once this is complete. So just going down and just using one finger. You can use a ruler if you want to get a really fine point, but I do think that the back of your finger, the front of your finger, is actually a really good, it gives a good texture. So here we have it. We've put folds in, so we've got a fold here, 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 and here. The next bit, we're going to collapse it into a square, but the easiest way to do this is to turn your piece of paper over, and just on one of the diagonal folds, just do an inverted diagonal fold. So we're just folding it back the other way. The reason that we do this is when we're then creating our square, which you'll see, just easily collapses with that inverted fold. So we're putting it together into a square here. So I'm just going to open it up. And we did our inverted fold on this side, and then we'll see it just naturally collapses in. So you're just looking for that square. Now we want to make sure we've got the open paper at the bottom, and the top is the center part of the paper, and that's all going to stay there. So every fold that we do from now, we're always going to make sure that we have the combined paper at the top and the open bits that will become the open head and the tail of the crane at the bottom. So first of all, we're going to fold into the middle. So you can always lift up half of your square just to make sure you get the center line. So we're going in and making sure that we create really nice point and triangle. So we're basically going to do this on the other side as well, and this creates a nice diamond formation. So you fold it in, we've got 90-degree angles from the middle coming out, and then this triangle at the top, we're just going to fold it down just to create the fold. So we fold it and unfold it. This is where we're actually going to open up to create a really big diamond, and that's going to be the basis of all of our folding as we move forward. So using that little fold that we've created for the from the triangle, we're going to use that to basically create a much larger triangle, diamond, sorry. So starting from the bottom, just push up, and we basically just want to make sure that you might move this around so it's not always facing upwards, But it's just, if you start from the bottom, pushing up and smoothing out, it just means you're going to get a much finer diamond shape. So basically equal diamond shape, and at the bottom is where it opens up. So this is going to create one of the wings of the crane. And what we're going to do is flip that over, and we're going to do exactly those same steps on the other side. So again, you could always just get your central line up just to make sure that when you're folding inwards to create your second diamond kite shape, that you've got a good fold. And then again, that triangle piece, which is actually going to be the crane's body, just use that folding down, unfold it. We just need it for the crease because that's where our paper is going to fold over. And the same here, if you start from the bottom, we start on one side, and then we're just gonna just naturally work up. Then we're gonna repeat on this side. You may need to just wiggle it around to make sure that you've got a really nice point on your crane wings. So then we've got wings of the crane at the top, the body in the middle, which is the triangle, and then two open bits at the bottom. I'm probably going to refer to these as legs, but one's going to be the tail and one's going to be the head and neck of the crane as we go. So now we're going to fold inwards each of these, the neck side and the tail side. So we're going to fold them completely in. You won't get a 90-degree angle here because you've already got folded paper underneath. So you're going to fold in on both sides, making sure that we're keeping the wings of the crane at the top and that we're just folding in the bits that come apart. And then we're going to turn it over and do the same on this side. Okay, so there we have it. We've got two bits that open up, and then you can see we've still got the wings and then the body of the crane in the middle. Now, we're getting to our last folds now. So what we want to do is fold each of these leg bits of the paper up. We're going to do one fold up. Just think about kind of how you want it positioning. So there's no right or wrong here. You can have it coming out this far. You can put it up much further in the middle. It's completely up to you. This is kind of how far the head and neck of the crane are going to be pointing out. Then as soon as you've done the fold on one side, put it around the other way, and we're going to do an inverted fold. So again, folding it this way, and then turning that over, that same fold we've just done, we just want to fold in exactly the same position on the other side. And what this has done for us, it's given us a kind of a V-shaped fold, which is now easy for us to invert. So we can place this part of the crane inside here. So it's going to come out. So the easiest way to do this part, and this is probably the trickiest part of all of the folding, is to get your thumb and put it in underneath. So you're kind of opening it out like a paper aeroplane. You're going to use your thumb to push inside, and then you might just wiggle around so that you've got a good fold. Then that piece of your crane is going to be refolded. So you've folded this whole bit the other way round, so you've got it coming up. So that is now our tail or our neck of the crane. So if I show you again on this side, so using your thumb, push it up in the middle, and then using your other thumb and finger is actually really good just to create the fold here. If you notice that you've got a little bit coming down or it's not quite equal, then you can just refold it, push it up. There we go. And then you've got it, you'll have a slight, it will be slightly higher in the middle where the body is. Now we're going to fold the wings down. I like to fold these so that you have a little bit of the body showing. So folding down in this way. Now, you have a decision to make which side you want the head and which side you want the tail to be. So if you want the tail, I've decided that this is going to be my tail for my crane, and this is going to be the head. So just folding in a little bit the head over. If you then open the wings of your crane, you then have a really nice hanging crane. You can get a pencil, get your fingers and curl the crane's wings in if you want a curled effect. But always pop it open a little bit. Be careful when you do this, because what you don't want to do is tear any of the paper. So there we have our first crane. So when we're putting together this set of hanging cranes, there's going to be 4 cranes in a row with this. So we're going to need to make the other crane. So at this point, pop your first crane aside and start creating the other cranes. So here's a couple that I've made earlier. And then we're going to get onto the assembly. So what we will need for this is just to open the box back out and pull out your embroidery thread. Oh, sorry. Embroidery thread and your needle. And you will need, the only thing you'll need from your house is a pair of scissors. So we're going to firstly look at how much string to use. So just looking at how much space is in the thing, I'll probably space the cranes out about this far apart. So I would be a little bit more generous with the thread than you think. You can pull the thread into individual strands as you would normal embroidery thread. I actually like to keep it together for a slightly broader effect. I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors. You have yours to hand. And cut. Now I'm going to put my embroidery thread and my scissors to one side. Now, probably one of the hardest things after you've mastered folding an origami crane is just the threading of the needle. So your needle, just thread it as a normal needle and give yourself a little bit of length. These cranes are all going to sit on top of a double or a triple knot. So we're just going to tie the first knot. Don't worry if you've got excess string at the bottom, we can always cut it off. So I'm just tying, I'm going to put 3 knots in here. And then I'm just going to put my cranes in order of kind of where I want them to hang. So I'm going to have I'm going to do them in this order. So green's going to be my first crane. So just getting the needle. At the very bottom of the crane, you will see that we actually have a natural hole that has formed just from where we folded the paper. And if you place your needle inside there and just hold it on the outside with your fingers, you'll be able to see that actually you can naturally just go up straight through the middle of the crane. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to go up through the middle and just pull your embroidery thread. And then you've got your crane hanging really nicely on that double or triple knot that you've put together. Now, just be careful not to tangle your creations up as I have done. And keep them in the order that you want. I think I'm going to go with that order now. So I've got my first crane here. What I'm going to do is just kind of look at what spacing I want. I want quite even spacing throughout. So I'm just going to, keeping the needle threaded, purely on the basis that rethreading the needle every time is time consuming and can get a little frustrating. The embroidery thread can sometimes be a bit tricky to thread, especially if it wears. So keep scissors at hand just in case you do lose your thread on the needle and you need to re-thread it. You might need to just trim the end if you see it threading. So I've got my second knot there. I'm just going to lay my crane that way. You can just about still see it. And then just going up through here, I'm going through again, through the hole, the natural hole that's formed at the bottom, and just going through that and just kind of feeling where that needle's coming through. and then placing down. So now I have, I'm just going to move these cranes out of the way so you can see I've got 2 cranes hanging. So I'm just looking for, and you might need to just hold this up, just holding this out of camera's view, just to find kind of that next point. So again, I'm going to keep my needle threaded. I'm going to try not to grab the crane as I go. You will find if you are packing these cranes away or you're transporting them, then the string may tangle up just in the crane's neck in the line. So just every time you take them out just and hang them up, just make sure that you're unraveling any string that might be entangled with them. So there we have it. Doing 3 knots this time. 2 knots is fine. If your knots are really tight, then I recommend doing 3 because what you don't want is the crane to start moving up and not sitting nicely on the knot. So now we're going to go through this is our 3rd crane, which is now sitting nicely on its knot. And then I'm going to put in my last one, and again just kind of looking, you can measure with a ruler, you can measure with just your eyes. I've made thousands of these, and I typically think most of the time you can get quite a good measurement just looking by eye, but I know that if you want to be really specific, then use a measurement, use a piece of paper that you have, use the box that the kit came in to measure it. So here we have it. So I've got 1, 2, 3 cranes all in a row hanging now. So I'm just gonna pop these to one side. I've just put my final knot in, and then I'm gonna go through again through that natural hole that's occurred for the crane, and we're just going to go up through the crane, and this is the final knot. Now actually in this case you can tie a little knot to keep this crane in place, but as long as you're hanging it, it's always going to stay in place. So at this moment I would just take your needle off, and you can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cranes going together. I'm actually just gonna stand up and show you how these look when they're hanging together. So just double check that you've got the string coming out and it's not tangled within any of the cranes. And then there you have it. You've got 4 hanging cranes. I would suggest that you place just a double knot in the top here. So let me just show you what I